Everybody, welcome back to another collab video. Hope you guys enjoyed the last collab video where we talked about a couple of things going on in the world of movies, and hope you guys have also been enjoying the plethora of reviews that have been going on this channel for a little bit. So we have some more news topics to talk about today. Some interesting stuff that's been happening, and some stuff that happened yesterday, some stuff that happened this morning actually, and we're gonna get into all of it today. And I'm trying to think if there's any updates I can give. We're still doing the whole, in the corner type vlogging. So if you guys are okay with this, I hopefully will get a chair or something to make this look a little more presentable. But for the time being, I think this is fine. Just casually just hanging out by the window type thing. It's kind of peaceful. So, but yeah. So there's nothing pretty much to update. I mean, just been just taking some time myself and all that stuff, but yeah, I don't know, nothing else really to talk about. I mean, I'll have another review out soon. The next review is going to be Nobody, actually, starring Bob Odenkirk. I just saw it a couple of days ago, and I will definitely do a review for it. And then, of course, this weekend we have Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder's next film, so we'll be reviewing that as well. And then A Quiet Place Part 2 next week. I'm so excited for that film. Been hearing some good things about it. So, but anyways, let's get into our discussions for today for some movie topics. So, let's get into it. The big story of the week, obviously, that we're going to talk about first is, of course, the AT&T situation, the WarnerMedia and Discovery merger that happened yesterday. So from what I understand, because it was kind of hard to understand because a lot of journalists and articles are not reporting correctly on the whole situation. So I was able to finally get a rational understanding thanks to a couple of podcasters and some some blogs and some further research on what the actual merger meant. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, AT&T has sold off or spun off, same thing, WarnerMedia to Discovery, and WarnerMedia and Discovery, will now forge a new company separate from AT&T. A new company will make up of 71% of AT&T shareholders, and the rest are Discovery shareholders. And now, just to be clear, because this is where a lot of articles are getting this wrong, AT&T does not have ownership of this new company. Okay, the company will comprise of 71% of AT&T shareholders, and the rest are Discovery. And shareholders owning something does not mean the company owns it. Okay, hence AT&T does not own WarnerMedia or anything from this new company moving forward. Now, according to CinemaBlend, if you guys are wondering what does this new merger entail, well, according to CinemaBlend, quote, the proposed new venture would combine HBO Max, Warner Brothers, CNN, TBS, TNT, Cartoon Network, and more with Discovery Plus, HGTV, Food Network, TLC, OWN, and among other things. So to put that all into one sentence, WarnerMedia, which comprises of a bunch of your favorite media stuff like DC, MonsterVerse, Harry Potter, Looney Tunes, etc., and Discovery are now separate from AT&T and are now creating a new company together. AT&T has no ownership of WarnerMedia anymore and have no ownership of this new company being made. So, what does this all mean? Because first of all, it was a massive deal that took place. It's now, I believe, it was about $43 billion to get this deal made. And this deal will not initiate anytime soon. It's going to be about a year's time from what I'm hearing. What does this all mean? What does all of this mean for us, for moviegoers, for audiences, for consumers? What does this necessarily mean for us? Well, to put it all in perspective, as of right now, I'm gonna first start off with what this means for streaming and what this means for theatrical releases. So for streaming releases, what this really all means, at least how I see it, because it's still hard, because it still is kind of hard to know what this means for consumers. But as far as I can tell, HBO Max will have hubs possibly added to their streaming service, increasing the price, in bundle deals that can be added towards your subscription if you wish to. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're canceling HBO Max, because I heard saw those headlines running around. Because if that's the case, why would HBO Max be a thing? Because they've apparently been talking about this for a couple of years. So why would they then launch HBO Max and then cancel it a year later? Like, no, they're going to keep HBO Max. But I believe that they're going to start doing what Disney Plus is doing, which is that they're going to start adding hubs onto their homepage. And if you have the bundle, you can have like CNN or whatever else they have, like Cartoon Network and all this other stuff. You can have it all in the hubs, and you can just click through there and have certain payment through there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what it boils down to. Is streaming is just hubs and bundle deals. But now, what does this mean for theatrical releases or film in general? My friend brought up a good question, which I thought is possible. Because to say it up front, I don't think it's going to affect our films as much. It's going to probably affect a few things behind the scenes, but in terms of just the release models and all that stuff, I mean, the release model is changing as is, and we'll talk more about that today. But I don't think it's necessarily going to affect our films in many ways. You might actually see some films that probably were in development may possibly get canceled, which is what my friend proposed as an idea. Because these shareholders, now that they're running a new company and they're forging a new company, there might be ideas that they probably didn't want to happen in the first place, but they couldn't do that because of their high lords at AT&T. So maybe they might, cancel certain projects because they're just not in their best interest to keep moving forward with those ideas. Who knows? Or keep projects that were shelved might actually be revived. Who knows? That could be a possibility out of this deal. But this also proves what I've been saying for a while. We've been all been saying for a couple of months now. This HBO Max deal with WB for the 2021 release model has not been working for them. They've been lying to us in the press about how they've really been doing, because and they understand more or less now why that deal was so bad, because it jeopardized their relationships with the creatives and it jeopardized their financial gain. So now AT&T, who was having to dealing with all this stuff, does not have to worry about that anymore. And it's just, this deal kind of also represents the falling of HBO Max in terms of the deal that they had put with WB. Because if you also read into the report, they said that AT&T was not creative friendly. They did not really support creatives. This new company they propose as their number one priority is the creatives. So and apparently there's a lot of people that are happy that they have separated from AT&T. So if it's not clear at this point, the HBO Max deal was not a good deal. I think it's made pretty crystal clear at this point. And I think the company is kind of admitting it to us up front with this type of deal being in place, kind of indirectly saying. So how do I feel about this deal? I have no clue. I have no clue how to feel. We have to see what the long-term ramifications for this is going to be. We don't know that yet. So in a year's time, we'll see how this pans out. But for right now, I mean, it's a massive deal. And hey, if the creatives are getting more say in this new company, then all power to that. I support creatives. I want creatives to get more input and provide more, have their voices be more heard. And if this type of deal gives them that opportunity, then there's no problem. I have no problem with this. But of course, we'll see in the future, what happens with all this, with this dealing, and all the stuff that we might learn in due time. But for right now, it's not bad. It's not bad from what I'm hearing. But we'll see what happens in due time. So that's pretty much my thoughts on that. The other big dealing that's in talks right now that happened on the same exact day as Warner Media is now this is a report that's roaming around. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but it's coming from reputable sources, so I'm going to talk about it. Amazon looks like that they're in talks to buy MGM Studios. Now, if you're probably wondering who the hell is MGM, well, they're the people who are behind James Bond and the Rocky franchise. So looks like Amazon might be in talks to purchase them for $9 billion. Yeah, I mean it's the streaming wars, man. It's the time of streamers coming in and getting the big prizes. Netflix, I believe, was shopping around for a while, and they were able to hit gold with Knives Out 2 and 3. So now it's Amazon's turn. Now they're looking to get a piece of the pie and see what they can grab, and they might get James Bond and the Rocky franchise. To which I'm not sure how successful the Creed films have been. I think that they've done okay. I mean, they're doing a third film, so I assume that it was doing fine. And the James Bond franchise is always doing fine. So, I mean, if they end up getting it, I mean, I don't think it's going to, because Amazon still releases their films theatrically. It's not like it'll become a streaming only thing. There'll probably be some hybrid release strategies with it, but nothing to the degree of where, it's no longer going to be theatrical. It'll still be hybrid release, but it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. I mean, again, I can't really say, but just same thing with the WarnerMedia deal. I can't really say whether or not this would be a bad thing or not. But again, this is all in talks right now, so we'll see. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if they're able to snag it. So, and Amazon is not like a bad studio, mind you. Amazon's made some great films. So it's not like that they are some like oh-so company that would, quote unquote, destroy James Bond and Rocky franchise. I mean, my favorite film, one of my favorite movies of the last few years, was Manchester by the Sea, and that was through Amazon. They've also made, I'm trying to remember some other ones. I'm trying to remember what the other ones that they've done. Let me look it up real quick, because I know that they've made some great films. And I'm going to look up Amazon Studios real quick, because I know Manchester by the Sea was one of them, and I loved Manchester by the Sea. Let me just look this up real quick. Amazon Studios. Yes, they did One Night in Miami, which I thought was a very solid film from last year. Manchester by the Sea, which I thought was great. They did Suspiria, which I have not seen. It was a remake. They also did the Mangrove series, Mangrove, part of the Small Axe series from Steve McQueen, which I really liked. And yeah, like they've done some good work. So I don't, it's not like that they do like crappy work. Like they do some good work. I think that if they acquire it, I wouldn't be upset basically. So, but we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, could happen, could not happen. Who knows? We'll probably not hear about this for a couple of months or so if they're in talks right now. So, but we'll see what happens. But let's get into some trailers, because there's two trailers that came out. One of which came out this morning, and we're going to talk about it right now, is the Dear Evan Hansen trailer. This is the musical adaptation of the same name, starring Ben Platt, who also starred in the Broadway play, Amy Adams, Amanda Sternberg, and Caitlin Dever, and it's directed by Steven Chbosky. I think that's how you say his last name. He's the director who gave you Wonder, starring Jacob Tremblay, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower. So he's a relatively known filmmaker. And the movie has a release date of September 24th, 2021. And the story of Dear Evan Hansen, my water just fell, of Dear Evan Hansen is about a boy who is suffering through anxiety disorder and is having a hard time associating with people and, making friends. And there's this bully. I'm basing it off all the trailer by you. I've never seen the play, so I'm just basing it off the trailer. um, the long 3-minute trailer, which we'll talk about in a second. Um, yeah, so it's about a boy with anxiety disorder, and there's this bully who keeps picking on him. And eventually we come to find out that the bully has unfortunately taken his own life. And the parents come to Ben Plate's character and assumedly thinking that he was a good friend of Ben Plate's. And what happens is that Ben Plate kind of runs with it. He kind of runs with it. Basically, he kind of fakes it. And this is where I get to my issue with the trailer. Because let me just state this right off the bat. Because I know someone's probably not going to hear me after I say a couple things, but I'm just going to put this up front. This is a case of where there are great intentions behind it and a great message with it, but it just looks generic as hell. Because now this could be the trailer, or always have to remember that, because trailers are very deceiving. But I do think that the story can be slightly problematic, because at bare bones, it's basically saying everyone needs a friend. But to what lengths? I mean, are we willing to fake it? Because this kid is faking it. He never was a friend towards this person, at least how the trailer tells us. And if so, why would you willingly fake it? Especially towards the parents of the friend you had that took his own life. And I get it. They want to represent this idea of inclusion, having everyone feel involved and not alone anymore. All I'm saying is that what I said, all I'm saying is if what I said is how they get to it, then that's very dangerous to be putting out there, because I think that that's my ultimate issue with this trailer, is that the story does not look great. I do not like the way that the story is being told. I think that the idea of it, I think is a great prospect and an interesting idea to play with. It's just that the execution of it and the overall slight suggestions are not what I like at all, and it's very dangerous to be putting out there. And I think that I already know how it's going to go down. Because the trailer also gave away the entire movie. I mean, it's a solid 3 minutes, which is overly long for a trailer, and I think it pretty much told you the whole movie. Like, someone put it best online. They're just like, I just saw the whole movie through the trailer. Pretty good movie. So if you want to watch the film in 3 minutes, you could watch the trailer and kind of get a good sense of what the movie is. But I do warn you, though, that I do think that it is suggesting at certain ideas, and I do not like it at all. I think it's very dangerous to be putting out there. And another thing is that, look, I know that that Ben Plate had starred in the play, and apparently he won a Tony for it. Does not mean that it works on film, because he doesn't look that great. He looks, I mean, he's obviously playing off of the way that he did it in the play. But it doesn't look great. Stylistically, it just looks generic, and just him in general, it just was okay. He doesn't look great. And I'm pretty sure that people will flock to the theater to see it because it's a musical, and there's an interesting thematic concept being played with. Interesting story beats being played with. I just don't personally like the suggestions that the story is making, and I also think that the lead performer doesn't look that great, and in general, it just looks kind of generic to me. So I've heard the musical was good. I heard it's pretty solid, but I don't think it looks great, the adaptation. So that's just my opinion on it. But I just don't like where the story is possibly going and what they might do with the story. In that regard, to just represent some message at the very end, even though the journey to getting there is pretty messed up if you really think about it. Because basically what it's saying is that, look, sometimes you gotta fake it to have a friend, which is a very, very bad thing to say. I don't think that's. For me, it rubbed me the wrong way when when I saw that play out in the trailer. And I mean, look, I still will see it. I mean, to be honest, I'm gonna hold off on it just because I kind of need to hear some consensus on this film before I go and see it. But I'll probably end up seeing it just because I want to see how they handle the story. Um, but yeah, for what we're seeing right now, I mean, ultimately my reaction from it is, eh. It's kind of my thoughts on it, which is, eh. But anyway, I mean that's my thoughts on that. So okay, the other trailer that came out was Snake Eyes. We got our first trailer for Snake Eyes, starring Henry Golden as the lead, directed by Robert. What? I can't pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Robert. Yeah, we can't. I'm not even gonna try. Robert S. We're gonna do Robert S. He had directed 2 of the Divergent films, Insurgent and Allegiant, and has a release date of July 23rd, 2021. And it looks okay. It looks okay. Very short trailer. I mean, Dear Evan Hansen was a long-ass trailer, and then Snake Eyes was a very short trailer. And from what I saw, it was fine. I mean, some of the action beats look okay. The story looks kind of familiar. We've seen this already. But whatever happened to just progressive samurai fights? Whatever happened to the actual, authentic samurai fights? Remember, I know people. My favorite filmmaker of all time, Akira Kurosawa. I literally watched one of his movies last night, Akira. Beautiful movie. If you guys have not seen Akira, it is a beautiful, outstanding film. But Kurosawa, as you guys all know, Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Sanjuro, Throne of Blood, The Hidden Fortress. As you can tell, I'm a big Kurosawa fan. Whatever happened to fights like that? I mean, I always wanted somebody to go back to those types of fights where it's just progressive. It's the tension building, not like who can wave the sword faster. I don't like that. Or who can do the greatest parkour with the sword or whatever. I'm not really all that into that type of swordplay action anymore. I really like it when it was back then in the days of like Kurosawa or the film. What was it? Harakiri, I think that's how you say it. Like this really kick-ass duel scene of where the swords, where these 2 samurais are just, kind of playing like 2 like dogs or so, like fighting each other. Like they come at it, or 2 cats kind of fighting each other, like, or I don't know how to describe it. I'm not sure how to describe it, but basically it's like a taunting game, like a mental mind game back and forth. And I love that. And I wish that was the case for some of these samurai films nowadays, but it's not. It's just a bunch of, swordplay action, like swinging around and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I find that stuff entertaining, but Snake Eyes, I just was like, whatever happened to just old school samurai fights? But nevertheless, though, I mean, it looks okay. Snake Eyes looks okay for what it is, and it's just a very short trailer too. It's like less than a minute, so I mean, we'll see. But I don't know. I wasn't that blown away by it, but we'll see what happens. So, wonder if it'll start up a new G.I. Joe series. I'm curious if it will, but because it is a reboot, but we'll see. Speaking of series, let's talk about Indiana Jones 5. We got some news on Indiana Jones 5. 2 new bits of casting. Boyd Holbrook and Shaunette Renee Wilson. Don't know who that person is, but I know Boyd Holbrook from Logan. Funny enough, because James Mangold is also directing Indiana Jones 5, so it's a bit of a reunion for these 2. The cast so far is pretty good. Harrison Ford obviously coming back as Indiana Jones, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Mads Mikkelsen, and now we have Boyd Holbrook and Shaunette Renee Wilson. So a pretty solid cast so far. We haven't heard anything yet in terms of production dates. Last I heard is this summer, so we'll see. Maybe around July I might hear some news about them starting to film it. But still has a release date of July 29th, 2022. But we'll see what happens. I'm still in the vein of until I see pictures of them on set, then I'll believe it. But hey, we have the cast so far, and you know, hopefully we actually get this movie. Hopefully we actually get to see it. Obviously, it's Harrison Ford's last time as Indiana Jones, but the cast so far sounds good. I think this is a solid cast so far, and I am looking forward to this movie. I'm hoping that it actually happens. I just need to see production photos, and then I can finally really start getting excited. But the cast sounds really good so far. So okay, and the last thing we're going to talk about is a little bit what we talked about earlier about theatrical windows. Let's talk about more about Disney. Now, Disney, as you guys know, had announced Black Widow to be a hybrid release. Well, they're doing a slightly similar strategy with Shang Chi and Free Guy. Shang Chi and Free Guy will now have a 45-day theatrical window. So after their 45-day window in theaters, they will be heading to Disney Plus with Premiere Access. Yep, we're still doing Premiere Access, assumedly for 45 days. Here's the thing. I think that we can all assume at this point that a 45-day theatrical window is pretty much the new norm now, because Paramount Pictures is also doing the same thing for their movies. So it seems like a 45-day window is the new norm for a theatrical window. So let's just put that up front. That being said, though, this Premiere Access thing, we've talked about it time and time again. I personally believe that Black Widow will be the deciding factor if Premiere Access will exist moving forward or be adjusted in the future. Because think from a company's point of view. If a Marvel movie, the biggest and most valuable piece of media we own, can't make money off of this thing, then what's the point of moving forward with the strategy? If we can't make bank off the biggest media value that we have, then nothing is going to work. So I think that Black Widow will be the deciding factor on this, and I hope it fails, because I do not like the strategy of $30. And I've noticed a lot of other people don't like it too, because people are becoming self-aware to it. So I don't know why they think this is going to work. But I do like the idea of having it come out theatrically first for 45 days to hopefully accumulate some money from that. But because no one is going to do the $30 Premiere Access strategy, only a select few will. But I hope Black Widow falls. I don't want it to fail, but on Disney Plus, I hope that it doesn't prove successful. Because I don't want the strategy to exist, and I want it to either be adjusted or just removed entirely. So I do hope that that's what happens in the future with this, but we'll see. Black Widow comes out in July, so we'll see what happens then. But yeah, it looks like the new norm now will be 45-day theatrical window, and Shang-Chi and Free Guy will be kind of leading the charge on that front for I don't know how is Black Widow going to have a 40-day theatrical window, 45-day theatrical window. I'm not sure, but nevertheless, though, for 45 days is the new norm for being in theaters for these movies. So basically, like a month and a half. So, and like I said, if Black Widow fails on Disney Plus, we're probably going to see some adjustments made for this whole Premiere Access strategy. Because, like I said, if a Marvel movie can't make that thing successful, then nothing will. So we'll see what happens. And I kind of hope it fails a little bit. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. That's pretty much all the news that we have for today. A lot about some companies making some changes, some trailers, changes to the theatrical window model. You guys let me know your thoughts on all this stuff, and I'll have my review out for Nobody, hopefully sometime this weekend, and of course Army of the Dead and all that stuff. And if anything big comes out in terms of movie news, we'll obviously talk about it in a collab video like this. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys let me know your thoughts on all of these topics. And remember to be safe, be protected, wash your hands, sanitize, keep social distancing, all that stuff. And we'll make it through together, guys. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.